How
How are you?
are you? I'm like a 60% human today. It's declining rapidly, but that's higher than I've been historically this year. How are you, Ben?
That's fantastic. Who was that at RFWin who did the 60% human?
I think that started with me
Oh, did it?
and it's just slowly percolated. Like Carrie Muscala's picked it up, and people will now ask, like, it's gotten to the point where in meetings people will start it with, Rachelle, what percent human are you? Because I say it so often.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough.
So I
I
don't know if
will.
someone else is doing it. I'm sorry
No,
for taking credit if they do, but
no, I will credit you with it. I am okay with you being that. I think we had someone at RFWin who did like what kind of storm weather or weather pattern you were or something like that.
that was
And I've
actually
linked
for one of our keynotes. That was Katie.
and I've linked those two things in my thoughts. So all right. Hello, everyone. There's the Rochelle and Ben banter at the beginning of this that our AI overlords will be confused about when they try to write up a show summary for us.
In this episode, Rochelle says,
It is the Thursday temperature check, which is proposal industry experts attempt to catch you up on what's interesting and happening out there in the world, and all the fun and exciting things that exist in our industry in procurement. We do a little bit of housekeeping. We tell you a funny little story. And then we send you on to your weekend where hopefully you don't have a million bids clamoring out your thoughts and allow you to sleep and have fun with your families or whatever hobbies or interesting things that you do in your lives. My name is Ben Klein. I'm the Chief Recipe Officer at Pi, owner of Geek Proposals. We're a proposal response firm in Vancouver. With me across the border is the fabulous Rachelle Ray, the Chief Bakers Officer at Pi, owner of RMR Consulting. We really need someone on this who is not a consultant because,
I know.
yeah,
I know. I actually have someone in mind.
we need to balance out those thought processes. We need someone who like brings us down to earth. Like, here's what it's like working inside a company. You two cowboys, like
Where you don't get the magic of being a consultant advisor.
where you don't get the magic, the magic.
Consultant magic, that's what I call it when people actually listen to me because they have some extra perceived value because they're paying me outside of their organization.
That was
Like, what?
the yeah, that was the best Arfwin like speech that I got to jump to was the like, why do you want to be a consultant? And then she like lines up the 4 reasons you think you should be, and she's like, those are all wrong. You will not work less. You will not earn more money.
Yes. Yes. I was like, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
No.
No.
My work-life balance will be worse.
All right. Sorry, we have to be serious here. So today's agenda, we are going to talk about response tools. And actually, just before this session started, I got a fantastic white paper delivered to me. I have not read it yet, but it's written by two fabulous human beings. And so I want to reference it in what we're going to talk about today because it does apply. But anyways, we in the community, we had a member who indicated that their company, for whatever reason, has made a decision to move from Loopio to Chorus Docs. And I think the very first post from one of our members was, "I hate this for you," with the like heat of 1,000 suns. Which
That's a really unfortunate response. As someone who knows what these tools kind of are but doesn't get to use them, I'm just sipping my tea over here. So I'm really glad we're going to dive into this because I have so many questions.
um, yeah. So maybe if there's anyone watching, let us know if you have a response tool at your office or something like that. But just a brief overview. Obviously, response tools are developed to help you run the proposal process. They consist typically of two parts. There is a content management library portion, um, typically making it easier for you to manage content, presumably, though Rin used to say that that's not true. And then there is also a response portion, like a way for you to run the project or construct the document that again is supposed to get easier. So the goal would be that like you can ingest a bid quickly, you can get it out to the relevant people quickly, and you can organize that information from existing content, or if need be, like create new content and send it out again. That's response tools, and then they all have kind of like bells and whistles and tools and functions to make that process easier.
So, can I start asking my questions now, or are you going to dive into things?
I,
Because
I, go, yeah, if you have
well,
questions.
hello from the land of AEC, where we're about 20 years behind everybody else in proposals and response.
Yeah,
Um, so my questions here are, my understanding of your side of the fence is that you do a lot of like question answer pairs.
yeah, 100%.
Uh, what we're doing on our side of the fence is, here's question one, and here are these 17 questions within question one that all have like subsections. Like,
Yeah,
let's talk
yeah.
about your cost control methodology, blah, 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 blah. So is the idea of this like content management system that you would be able to provide it with like past answers for all of these topics, and then it like amalgamates them in a response to an RFP?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's basically it. And honestly, like these tools, they work best with Excel. You are very correct. Like if there is a question in this column and an answer required in this column, even if the answer like has a list function, or like needs to select like a specific thing to like trigger, or maybe it has multiple answers, like, hey, you give it, like you're allowed to say like yes, no, maybe in like one column, and then in the other column you get like a text based area where you can answer like in more detail or something like that. You see like some crazy ones where they want you to number stuff and then like price out each function and stuff. Yeah, ridiculous. Um, so yeah, what we would say about your thing is that these are narrative questions. We would call these like long form narrative questions, and they exist in our world too, for sure. And you do use response tools to like build kind of a little bit of structure so that you aren't writing like everything, right? Like
Okay.
and there's always a fight around like how much customization you need inside a bid. Like, the common one is, well, at least put the customer's name in, right? Like, you know,
At the very least.
like, hey, I have won bids where I have not done that little minimal thing.
We have a whole archived session on like the psychology of that.
Yeah.
It's Sean's like every what we called it, but like the myths debunked
Yes.
on and client naming is one of them. And there's like an actual science to how often and when you use their name and whether it resonates with them. Just plugging that in there because it's fascinating to me. I still reference it. I'm like,
I
okay, once the
I
beginning, and
I should
then
go. I'm gonna go back to that for sure. For sure. Anyways,
science.
so there are some market leaders. Like Responsive is the big player. They are the Cadillac. They're usually the most expensive product. Loopio often comes in second, both for expense and for functionality. And they have different functionality. Honestly, there's some branching there that's relevant, and we won't get into in this cast. And then there's some other like players out there. Like there is Ombud. I hate them, but you know, come on, Ombud, and teach me why not. Like maybe.
We're
Um,
giving you an opportunity to educate us.
we're giving you the opportunity to educate us. Like Qvidian, there's Chorus Docs, PandaDocs often comes out there. There's a company called Proposify, but they don't people wrestle proposal response into it. But honestly, it's more for creating like actual proposals. Like maybe you're not in the RFP process, but you just want to create something that's beautiful. That's like, this is what we would like to sell you.
They
Right?
make really pretty word templates from what
They
I've
do.
seen.
Yeah.
And
No.
they're supposed to be really easy for your technical engineering team to just like hit buttons. That scares me as a control freak. But anyway, that's all I know about everyone you just listed.
But yeah, for whatever reason though, sometimes companies do buy a proposal response software, and honestly, that process itself is fairly fraught because typically the proposal team either sits underneath like pre-sales, or they sit under sales, or they sit under marketing, and they're usually like this type of software is not like the highest on everyone's list of things that they need for a company. Look at you, AEC.
Looking
Yeah.
at you,
Look,
AEC.
look at you, AEC. Yeah, like there's so much more stuff. And so if you were when it was like RFP Monkey, which you could literally upload to an enterprise company for like $800, all the way up to like responsive, where maybe for like a 2,000 person company, you're looking at like 300,000 a year, or something like that. These are just random numbers, by the way. Don't come at me like if your pricing was different. Like, I know that like there's a whole range of pricing options like that can go out there. But anyways, but it is a difficult process to just get it into your company. And then often, like with most software purchases, there's a bit of buyer's remorse. So people feel that like things don't do they want what they want. And honestly, more often than not, that's because there's an implementation failure. Um,
Like a phase of getting used to the new tool, right? Like, I don't think anything has ever out of the box been totally perfect and has had a seamless user experience, and we as humans with our short attention spans we tend to get frustrated when things aren't easy to do and find right away.
yeah, yeah. So there you go. So there you have it. So because of that, companies will sometimes like, oh, like this doesn't fit all the use cases we have, so maybe we can get something like a Course Docs, which has like more functionality for just like users who want to create beautiful documents, or something like that. Like maybe there are other users in the organization, not just the proposal team, that need access to this tool and need to use it for like something interesting, right? And so you'll switch from like a response tool to something like a second tier response tool or something like that. And then there's pain inside your proposal operation. And I think, so what briefly what I want to talk about today is kind of the idea of like, hey, this is going to happen to you. Take a deep breath, and like here's some things that you can do to help prepare yourself or get yourself alive. Like,
I love this.
yeah.
Again, sipping my tea over here. Tell me all the things.
Tell me all the things. So this often happens during a merger and acquisition. If like one company has one proposal tool and the other company has another proposal tool, someone has to make a decision about which one moves forward in the process, and that can often be contracting. That's how I lost Loopio at one of my clients. It is how I lost Responsive at one of my clients. Like that's just the nature of it, right? Another time. You will have something where like the tool doesn't fit the functionality and you're asked to downgrade, or you aren't seeing the results from your purchase and you have to downgrade. Anyways, so it's tough because the process of getting a tool up and running is laborious. Like, how do you manage your libraries right now, Rochelle?
Uh, in classic AEC fashion, I have folders with subfolders, and in those subfolders is a hodgepodge mix of Word documents or
Yeah.
InDesign files where I have just like extracted something from a proposal and been like, I'll need that in the future, just stick it over here. Um, so that's fun. I do organize my images in a cloud. Thank you, Open Asset for digital asset management. And yanking me into the 21st century because they were like, "Stop, Rochelle, you have to do better." I'm like,
Uh,
okay. But my text is still narratives are just floating, or I'm the worst. They just live in my head. I have so much institutional knowledge that I'm
yeah.
just like, oh, I wrote about that in that proposal last year in October, so I'll just go grab it from there. Why wouldn't I do that?
Okay.
I created a resume for this guy in April. Obviously, I'm just gonna go grab it from the proposal where I created the resume for. So I don't have libraries.
Yeah. So all right. Fair. So one of the things that a proposal tool does force you to do is create a library. So you would take all those folders and subfolders, and honestly, you would upload them. Like all of the tools have like an ingestion. So you'll get them in there in some way. Now the kicker is when you are moving to another tool, more than likely they have already like hopefully you have negotiated with them that they will take your data from like one tool and move it into the other. Now that data is not going to go cleanly. Qvidian, for example, uses not QA pairs but header formats, so information based on headers and like structure. So it is hard to like move it into a QA pair format tool, for example. So there is some challenges there. So if you are in the process of doing a downgrade, just be aware, like, hey, the ingestion itself is going to be difficult. You're going to lose information. You might gain, like, there may be a different tagging structure or tagging hierarchy, and that can be problematic because more than likely, when you use these tools, there is rot unless you have a dedicated content manager. And even if you do have a dedicated content manager, there is rot in your library. And there's a woman in the UK, and I didn't realize that this was a profession for proposal managers, but like that is all she does. All she does is set up libraries and then like clean your library every once in a while.
That's actually really common in AEC. I
Yeah,
have worked with and for several companies that have like a dedicated knowledge manager, and that's their sole job is just to clean files and check on things all day long.
I didn't
They're
realize you could do it as a
in-house
consultant.
librarians.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't realize you could do it as a consultant. Like you would just like have a line on that mate. I'm like, oh, this would be fun. But maybe it's not. It's it's probably hell on earth, but who knows? Anyways, uh, the other piece that you need to know is that like tools live and die on the differences, and you're going to feel the differences so hard in that first little while. And so when you are switching to a tool, you need to look at your current process. Hopefully you have it mapped out, and you're going to think about like, where do we hit interact with the tool at any point, and then you got to circle that, and you've got to like test whether your process still works. And so for the person inside our community, I'll write up this instruction for them, but you really have to be thinking about like even something as simple as ingestion. Like, how do we ingest this document? Like, all the tools do it slightly different, and it's on the margins that there are small little problems and things that like will create time. Like Loopio is just this gorgeous program that ingests so well. Um, if you can imagine, like RFP 360 was effectively like Control A to select all, and then like let it kind of identify stuff, and then you would kind of tell it like whether it's doing a good job or not, all the way along. um, yeah, yeah, it was fun, it was fun. Glad that Responsive bought it. But like Loopio, like you can put Word, you can put PDF, you can put Excel, like whatever they give to you. I even tried like turning a PPTX into a PDF and then putting it into Loopio, and it was like, yeah, sure, no problem, I can do this for you. Um,
Wait, so are you saying I could like feed it a proposal PDF and it'll like take the data out of it?
yeah, of course. That's the whole point.
Oh, that's mythical in AEC. The number of people who ask me if that's possible, I'm like, I don't know.
It is true. When I do response tool demos with clients, there's always like some people in the room who are just like, yeah, okay, I get it. That functionality makes sense to me. And then there are people like, this is amazing.
You just blew my mind
How does
because
it?
I'm like, how do I feed? I'm going manually into my proposals, pulling out this information, putting it in a separate Word document, or putting it in an Excel sheet so I have all of my topics.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
yeah. Fair enough.
Carry
Fair
on.
enough. Go
I
make your
learned a thing today. I'm done.
go make your business case for your clients. But yeah, so you have to do that. You have to allow yourself grace that like, hey, your process is going to change on almost all these things, right? Like ingestion, export, how it formats the document, how it looks up information, like all of this changes with each document. And I'm not suggesting that like you throw out your process. You shouldn't do that, but you should be allowing yourself time to do that transition. It is not, as much as companies say, hey, it's really easy to get your data over. It sure is. The next step is what you're going to do with it. And that's where you run into problems. You run into difficulties. Um, but anyways, so I feel for the student course docs. I'll write up some stuff about like my pain points on these. But long and short is my very first step is take your current process. Again, hopefully you've mapped it. Look at every time you touch a tool, circle that area, and then go test that area. And this is honestly like a really good idea if you're going from one tool to another, like if you're implementing up as well. Because again, you can find it like Loopio has its own problems. Like one of the things that Responsive does really well is allow you to like draw partners in to your libraries and stuff like that in a clean way. Ombud, for example, does that in a really awkward fashion. um, that that can be difficult for like partners to accept and everything like that, for you to control and everything. And so suddenly you have a different process. Anyways, moving along. One of the things that's changed on all of this though, like Rachelle, do you use AI to read your proposals to help you
Like
get?
to repeat.
Yeah.
Or yeah,
Or your RFP, the incoming document.
the incoming document.
Yeah.
I don't like to feed just a raw, like a proposal response into, because the only thing I use right now is ChatGPT, and since it's not
Not that
closed
secure.
or secured,
Yeah.
I even though my proposals are public knowledge, I can FOIA any of them. I still protect my client data. So again, don't come at me, clients. I'm protecting you.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, if you do have like an internal AI, like Copilot or something like that, or Gemini, if you're a Google shop or something like that, and you've got the controls in place with your corporation and stuff like that, like one of the things that you said, where like you can feed this information into a proposal thing, and it will like identify these, right? Deep RFP, for example, by Javier is a tool that does this. Um, but yeah, again, you would have to buy a license for that. But like Gemini and Copilot also do this, and it kind of changed the game because you can like when you take a proposal, right, you have to read through. It's like, hey, I'm looking for like, how do I submit this? What are the dates that I need to be aware of? What is the actual requirements of the submission that come back and stuff like that? But you can have AI like quickly read that and get that back to you fairly quickly. Like when I use like a Loopio or a responsive, I still have to like read through the document to find these things. With an AI tool, I sort of don't, because I'll read through the document eventually, but I can start, like I can get the project started faster just by like asking it to find this information for me. And so then it like it just makes my process easier. It gets me to like actually like delegating work quicker rather than later and stuff like that. And so AI is sort of slowly changing the game for proposal tools. And what you hear on AI enabled companies or software companies right now is that they are building and training AIs in house to respond to proposals. Now, it's not it's not the proposal response process. It is really just the content management piece. It is reaching into some sort of content repository, like your folder structure. It would be like, hey, we love this. Like if we brought on Marcel from Quandai, he would
Mhm.
tell you that you can like just you could point something at that library and just pull answers out of it, right? And not even pull answers. You could ask it to fabricate answers from like stuff that it understood. Anyways,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, right.
I just had to wait for it to go a few more steps until I got to the point where I could just use the repository. We're not even gonna call it a library. We're gonna call it like the dump files. Excellent.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So so AI has made it easier to do this one part. And so then the question became like, do you have to have this other part? And that's why I see a lot of companies doing. Companies are testing, like, hey, can I lay off large portions of my proposal team and get my SMEs to respond with with an AI tool? And honestly, the in some cases it's working. It really kind of depends on the industry and what you're involved in. I know, look at you.
I mean, AEC again. I don't think we'll ever get to that point where we're pretty job secure, but
Oh, thank you, inefficiency. You help me.
yay.
One of the people who's kind of a leader in this, and he's hanging out with the Pi organization, is Chris Basilia.
But
Um, Basila, why do I call him?
I'm sorry, Chris.
Yeah, Chris, I'm the worst. I'm gonna learn to say your name properly. Give it like, and the worst part is like I have an open WhatsApp chat with him. Uh, he
But you're
sends
reading it. You're not saying his name regularly, so it
I,
makes sense.
yeah, yeah, it's fair, it's fair. But
I
like
just promised I would correct you the next time you said Basilia.
I
I did my due diligence on air. I'm sorry. Anyway, Chris is doing amazing things with AI.
Chris is doing amazing things, and he reached out to another person. I'm not sure, she might be in our community or not. Amy Spark from Spark Pursuit and Marketing, um, and the two of them wrote this paper on AI implementation strategy. And I think it's worth a read. You can get it for free on his website, hovister.com. I'll put the link in the show notes so that you have it. Anyways, but it is. I've just started reading it. Full disclosure, I haven't read it all the way through, but if it's coming from Chris, it's pretty good. And honestly, it's probably something that you should be thinking of if your company is making the choice to downgrade your software or has other use cases and stuff like that. Like there might be something in here that allows you to either maintain your current thing or like channel where you're going to be moving to, because switching tools, especially with all the bids that are coming in, especially if you're like, the work never stops. And honestly, like you'll just create so much rot if you go through this process. But anyways, all right, that's it. That was a long rant on that.
I feel like this is not a Tales from the Pitch episode. This needs to be like a multi-part series
Of
because I have a lot more questions, and I know a lot of other people do too. So maybe we continue this conversation in the community as well.
Fair enough.
Because
But next week, though, you were teaching us how to train a GPT, right?
yes, yes, next
Halloween.
week I'm going to walk Ben through how I make a proposal-specific GPT
Yeah.
to just be my little sounding board assistant. So Halloween, it'll be scary
It's going to be
because
great.
Rochelle's teaching technology.
Rachelle is teaching technology. It's the upside down. We are in uncharted territory. So this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna compile my documents. It's gonna be great. We're gonna have a GPT. I've even told like non-proposal people to like turn into this episode because like training a GPT is so useful in every industry. So
I have personal and professional ones. Like they're amazing. And
yeah,
my little assistants make my life so much better. So
perfect.
it'll be a fun episode.
All right, I'm excited. All right. So with that in mind, though, it is time for a Tales from the Pitch. You've got 4 minutes. Time's on the clock. Good luck,
Excellent.
Rachelle.
I have two minis, but we might only be able to get through one mini. I'm putting them together because they have similar themes of the kind of pre-RFP, like kickoff, go, no-go process, and prisons.
Oh, let's go.
So once upon a time, Rochelle was kind of mid-career, so advanced enough to be running my own proposal, not experienced enough to be handling some of these situations. And the company I was working with got their hands on an RFP for a new hotel development. They were very excited about it. Owner was adamant that we're going to go after it. I get to the kickoff meeting and I'm already floundering because I don't know how to respond to it because the company has never done hospitality before. None. No restaurants, no hotels, no bed and breakfast, nothing.
Oof.
And so I get in and I'm sitting in there with the owner, the architect, the team. They're all really excited about this thing. And I'm like, tell me about like what our strategy is, like how, like what do I need to know about this thing? Like why are you so confident that it is ours? And they're like, well, we do a lot of work in the area. And I'm like, okay. Check on the bingo card for things that everyone thinks they're gonna win, but don't. Okay. And they're like, well, we know a lot of people in the area. We don't have a direct relationship with this client, but we like know like it was one of those we know the cousin of the brother of the someone.
This is so
And I'm like, that's cool. This local is backed by like a big name, like a Marriott or an IHG, right? Like firepower who's gonna come in and have say in this. So your brother's cousin's connection, not helpful. So I'm like, okay, let's switch gears. Let's get tactical. What projects am I showing here? And I'm like, well, you did this like commercial office building. The lobby shots are really nice. We can like vibe there. You've done some higher education around like art and museum. Like we can vibe there.
yeah.
And the architect, to this day, I still don't know how to handle this.
Yeah.
The architect goes, well, why don't we include the 3 detention centers we've worked on? And I was like, oh, I don't understand. And he goes, well, Rochelle, they're the same. Like a hotel is a bunch of rooms with a common area. A detention center is a bunch of rooms with a common area.
Oh.
And you just copy and paste that on each floor, right? And I'm like, okay, I see the logic here.
This is so
We are going to get laughed out of the room if I include detention centers. Like, we have to find another strategy. It took me almost the entire hour of that meeting to
yeah.
get them off of that because they were like, technically, and their engineering brains were like, yes, on paper, it looks the same on the blueprint or whatever they use nowadays. It looks the same on paper in the drawings. Ugh.
Totally different functions. I love it.
Totally different functions, totally different. They did not win that. I think we did end up bringing in a consultant with hospitality experience specifically because I almost cried in that meeting.
Yeah.
They are still adamant that we might have won if we used the
They're
detention
still your
center.
clients. That's great.
I still work with them. I love them dearly. I still don't understand their logic sometimes, but
Yeah.
we still work together.
We got lots of responses in the community. The Listening Intently by Christy. Wow. Jennifer and Apples to Apples by Stephen.
Absolutely. Totally the
100%.
same.
Target consumer. You guys are killing me. All right.
Great.
That was great.
Oh,
Um, that's fantastic. Of course, like for like. That seems exactly the same. I love it.
yeah, absolutely.
And this
Absolutely.
is from an architect, someone who
This
thinks
is from
about
an
design.
architect. Same vein, same story-ish. Different company, different client. Sat in a go no go. 45 minutes into the go no go on whether we wanted to do or whether we should go after a detention center,
Yeah.
prison. The architect finally speaks up and says, "Do we want to do this? We've never done a prison. It doesn't look good in our portfolio." That ended the meeting.
Yeah.
45 minutes of my life asking if we should go after this thing. Why wouldn't we? Do we need the work? And an architect finally says, "I don't want to do this." And that was it. Prisons, man.
Yeah.
They're cursed.
They're tough. They're tough. There's a lot to unpack there. All right. It is 1 minute past. Thank you all for tuning in for today's temperature check. Next week, big episode. Rachelle's going to be teaching us ChatGPT and training a GPT. It's going to be a lot of fun. Please tune in. Hope that your bids are going great and everything in your life is fantastic. And hope that you go into this weekend, footloose and fancy free. Anything else, Rochelle?
Tomorrow is the last day to submit your proposal horror stories in the community, so please do that. We've also opened up registration for the free novel writing challenge in November. It's just for funsies. All that information is in the community, so go grab it.
All right. Perfect. Thanks, y'all. You have a great weekend. Take care. I'm going to